Hey there, it's Jim Day, and it is another Coronavirus Sunday. And you know what? I got to reading the Word here again, and y'all should be reading the Word. I'm going to tell you why. Because y'all say you believe in God, country, and mama, but you can't really know God unless you read the Word, right? Otherwise, you're just prone to have to listen to what other people are telling you. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of people out there going to tell you a lot of crazy stuff about the Bible. So what you got to do is you got to know the Word, so that when some fella like myself get up here and start telling you about it, you can be able to say, hey, actually, that's true. That is what that says. And you know what? This is going to tie in really quick. I just want to share real quick here with you. I'm reading these letters in the Bible here. The letters of John. Right, we got First John, Second John, Third John. And if you remember, John, he was one of the apostles. He actually one of the ones that walked with Jesus. In fact, it says that he was very close to Jesus. You know that photo there of the Last Supper, Jesus sitting at the dinner table and all the apostles there, and there's one fella that's leaning up against him. Well, that's always John. They consider that John. He had a very close relationship with the Lord. And in fact, he speaks about love, love, love all the way through his gospel and into these letters that he writes, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, that he's writing to the church. Now, at this time, listen, there was a lot of people going out, and there was some hospitality to be had if you was supposedly Christian, right? Think about like I was watching some old Gunsmoke, right? And this guy named Brother Love, he rolls in, and he's going to have this whole miracle campaign, and a few people, and this guy gets healed, and he's taking the offering and making all this money, and he's, oh, praise the Lord, and all this kind of stuff, right? I mean, we've seen this movie a million times, right? And it turns out Brother Love, he's just snake oil salesman. Right, he ain't really the thing, but what he understands is if he knows how to sing a hymn, and he knows how to preach a word, he can make a bit of money, right? And of course, he's exposed. But what does it show us? It shows us that there's people out there, right, that can use the gospel, use our values against us to infiltrate into what we're doing. Right? And what's real interesting here in these 3 letters here, you're going to see this progression of this same issue happening back in the day, because that's what people was doing. They're going out, they didn't believe in the values of the Christians. They didn't believe in Jesus, but they believed in a free meal. Right? And at the end of the day, they was teaching some bad stuff. And it's really interesting. We're going to move backwards here from 3rd John all the way to 2nd John to 1st John here. We're going to do a little backwards because I see a pattern I want to show you here as we get out of here real quick here. So in 3rd John, what we're going to see is we're going to see that there's churches that aren't accepting real believers. Like even when the church elders are going and saying, hey, these people are legit. They part of us. They're saying, we don't want to have nothing to do with them. And it actually kind of comes down to some pride. Like, you ever know one of these fellas that's just like, he kind of likes to be the big feller. And then as soon as anyone comes in that people paying attention to, he gets jealous, right? Well, no, that's not really from God. Or that's not really, and he kind of pushed them away. Well, that was what was taking place. And John here is saying, hey, you need to show hospitality to the real people, people that are really part of your group, really part of the brethren. And he addresses that, right? Real interesting. We scoot on over here to 2nd John, right? And it's the exact opposite message. That, hey, he's warning them, saying, listen, not everyone that comes in here saying that they're a Christian, they is truly a Christian. They're not truly holding your values, right? And he says, you need to test these people, right? Because there's a lot of false prophets that went out there. He says, they looked like they was from us, right? But they went out from us and they started preaching other values. Imagine if you know someone and they say, oh, you know what, it's I'm a country fella and I believe in God, country, and mom, and I believe in being a good person, right? And you're going to make a business deal with them. And you shake a hand because in your culture, you know that handshake means everything. And they're, oh, Lord, yeah, that means everything. And then later on, you find out they ran off with your money because that handshake didn't really mean nothing to them. They pretended like it meant something to them, right? But it really meant something to you. They wasn't part of you. Here in 2nd John, he says there's a bunch of people going to be like this. They've gone out from us, right? Because they was never really part of us, right? They looked like they was us, but they weren't. And so what we see here, we got an issue here. As Christians, we're supposed to show hospitality. We're supposed to love the brethren, right? But what do? We got fake brethren. And then some that we accept sometimes, and some we got real brethren that we throwing out sometimes. And John's telling us, hey, treat the true brethren true, and treat the false brethren as false, right? How do you do that? Well, we're going to scoot on over here to First John, and we see that there's all sorts of things that he starts going. John starts talking about love. He starts saying, "Hey, listen, there are certain things that if you believe, that they're going to show through your life. There's going to be a love in your life. There's going to be some gospel truth that you speaking out here." And in fact, it just kind of boils down here towards in here in chapter 4 in First John. He points out, says, how are you going to know who's real and who's not? Well, real simply, he says, this is how you. It literally says, this is how you can recognize the false prophet. Every spirit that acknowledges that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God. But every spirit that does not acknowledge Jesus is not from God. Right? So right there, it's real simple. You get someone in there and they're going to talk your values and they're going to talk God. They're going to talk all of this kind of stuff. But then all of a sudden they start talking, oh, God's great. I just don't like to, kind of put God down to just one sort of thing here. Right? Like I like to think he's everywhere. Well, you disacknowledging God right there. Oh, I like Jesus. Oh, no, I love Jesus. Oh, Jesus would do this. And in fact, a lot of people like to use Jesus to moralize you, especially for their politics. What would Jesus do? Right? But you talk to these same people, and then you start talking to them, well, you really follow Jesus? So they're going to say things like, well, Jesus was a good man, but, there was other good people, too, that I like to listen to. Right? Well, I wouldn't say Jesus was God. I'd say that he was a good man. He taught us what. And John's saying right here, this is the way that you can do it. It says they cannot, if they are part of you, they're going to acknowledge that Jesus is God. Right there, real simple. If they don't, they're not from him. So what are we called to as Christians? We called to show hospitality to the right people. And we called to be cautious about the people that aren't really. Now, that don't mean that we're going to go out there and we just hating on those people that are fake, but what we do is we have to be able to determine who's real and who's not. Because God's called us to reach those who aren't, right? That means we don't got to sit here and the ones that truly do love God, we're going to sit there and call them non-Christians or try to preach to the choir, right? A lot of times we get caught up in that, don't we? You get a bunch of choir people sitting there complaining about the other choir person, whether or not they saved or not. That's ridiculous stuff. Do you love God? You acknowledge Jesus. Hey, you're part of the family. Now you got to figure out the love and the hospitality, right? What we got to do is we got to determine who ain't there so that we can actually come to them and we can say, hey, you ain't going to change my values. You ain't going to change my tradition because I know why you're here. You're here to take my handshake and then walk away with my money. Right? I want to just say here, I'm going to tie this into us. As country people, I came back. I lived overseas for about 10 years. I came back. This country changed. And what I'd seen is that the country people grew angry. A lot of the kids, youth, they just headed off to the cities, betrayed a lot of their values. A lot of the older people, they just angry. They shut down. It used to be you could walk around, you could go up to a farm. You even just say, hey, how's it going? I saw your animals. I'd just say, hey, yeah, I'm Jim Day. What's up? Nowadays, people are suspicious. They don't know what to think. They're, hey, get the hell off my property. All right, well, nice to meet you. Time for you to move on, sort of thing, right? Why does this come in? This comes in because this culture gets abused, don't it? Just in the same way as our Christian culture gets abused and people come in and they try to use our Christian culture to steal our generosities. And just in the same way as Christians, we can kind of lean to the wrong assumption of saying maybe the thing is just to close my heart completely. We do the same thing in our culture, don't we? We're the country people. We've always been friendly. We're the people that you driving down, you see a guy hitchhiking and need help, you stop and you help. Do we do that anymore? I think that we lose in that. All right. And it's just an encouragement outside of the Bible here, just to remind you that we are the better people. This is the better culture. This is, if people live like we live in the country, we're going to be doing a lot better, right? Our values are good values. They're biblical values, right? Don't lose that because of false prophets, because of false country people, because of the false better people out there, right? They left us because they was never part of us, right? Now, God, he's called us to go out and to reach out to these people, and that's why we called to be hospitable even in the face of inhospitable people, right? But don't let them change us, right? As soon as they change our culture, as soon as they change the country, into something that it ain't, then we've truly lost it. All right? That's what John's going to be encouraging us with us today. It's a conundrum, right? But you listen. You test the spirits. You listen to what they're really saying, right? And you protect the flock from these things, all right? All right, I'm praying for you. Hey, pray for me. I need your help too, right? I need you to hold me up in prayer each day, right? Because, hey, there is a world out there that they don't like us, okay? But thank God, right? Bible says, rejected by man, loved by God. All right, there we go. Hey, you have a good Sunday. Get outside. It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend. It's beautiful right now. I think maybe I want to go outside, listen to some music, sit in the sun with the kids. I hope you do the same thing. All right, Jim Day.